Nina Sayers does not live like most people. She lives like someone already trapped inside a performance, even before the curtain rises. Her apartment is soft pink, almost childlike, filled with stuffed animals, ballet decorations, and the quiet pressure of a life that never fully became her own. It feels less like the home of an adult woman and more like the preserved shell of a daughter who was never allowed to grow naturally. Every morning begins the same way. Discipline. Repetition. Control. Nina stretches, rehearses, eats carefully, moves carefully, speaks carefully. Her whole identity is built around precision, and precision has become the only thing holding her together. She danced for a New York ballet company directed by Thomas Leroy, a man admired for his genius and feared for the way he shapes the women around him. He wants beauty, but not only beauty. He wants danger, seduction, and emotional truth that cannot be faked. The company is preparing a new production of Swan Lake. In this version, one ballerina must play both the White Swan and the Black Swan. Innocence and corruption, control and abandon, purity and desire. To dance both roles perfectly is to embody two opposite forms of womanhood in one body. Nina is the obvious choice for the White Swan. She is technically brilliant, delicate, disciplined, and almost painfully pure. On stage, she moves like fragility, given shape. Her body knows how to obey. But Thomas does not only need obedience, he needs someone who can become the Black Swan too, and that is where Nina begins to fail. When she auditions, her White Swan is flawless, but her Black Swan is stiff, cautious, trapped inside self-consciousness. Thomas sees the problem immediately. Nina can perform perfection, but she cannot perform surrender. She can imitate darkness, but she cannot release herself into it. That difference is everything. In Thomas's eyes, ballet is not only about discipline, it is about transformation. If Nina cannot lose control, then she cannot become complete. At the same time, an older dancer, Beth McIntyre, is being pushed out of the company. Beth is everything Nina fears becoming, a woman who gave her youth, body, and identity to ballet, only to find that once beauty fades, devotion is not enough to save you. Beth's fall haunts the whole company, and Nina watches it closely because Beth is not just a warning about age. She is a warning about what happens when an artist has nothing left outside the stage. If you enjoy dark psychological stories like this, subscribe to Cinema Trigger, leave a like, and comment the next film you want covered. Because this is not just a story about ballet, it is about obsession, identity, and the terrifying cost of perfection. Despite her weakness as the Black Swan, Nina gets the lead role. It should be the happiest moment of her life. Instead, it feels like a wound opening, because the role does not simply ask her to dance, it asks her to become someone she does not know how to be. And then Lily arrives. Lily dances in the same company, and from the moment she enters the story, she feels like Nina's opposite. She is loose where Nina is controlled, sexual where Nina is repressed, instinctive where Nina is rigid. She seems to embody everything Nina lacks and everything Thomas wants. Nina immediately sees her as a threat. Not because Lily is technically better. She is not. Nina is the stronger dancer in terms of control and form. But Lily has something more dangerous than technical perfection. She has freedom. Thomas notices it too. He tells Nina directly that she is perfect for the White Swan but wrong for the Black Swan. He pushes her, touches boundaries he should not touch, provokes her, and seems to believe that humiliating and confusing her will unlock the version of herself he wants to see. That relationship is deeply unsettling because Thomas is not portrayed as a simple villain. He is manipulative, exploitative, and cruel, but he is also perceptive. He senses that Nina's real prison is internal, and he keeps trying to smash the walls from the outside. Nina's home life makes things worse. She lives with her mother, Erica, a former dancer whose own career ended long before it became what she wanted. Erica treats Nina like both a daughter and a replacement self. She infantilizes her, controls her meals, watches her body, and reacts with panic whenever Nina begins showing signs of independence. Their relationship is loving on the surface, but suffocating underneath. Erica wants Nina safe, but in practice, safety means stasis. Safety means Nina stays little, obedient, and dependent. That kind of love can become its own cage. As rehearsal intensifies, Nina's body starts breaking under the pressure. She scratches herself. She picks at wounds. Her skin becomes a battlefield of stress, discipline, and self-disgust. Small injuries start feeling symbolic, as if the perfection she built is splitting at the seams. The role starts entering her mind. She sees doubles of herself in mirrors and crowds. She feels watched. She imagines Lily replacing her. Her sense of reality starts loosening, not all at once, but in tiny fractures that make everyday life feel slightly contaminated. This is what makes Black Swan so unsettling. It does not rush into madness. It lets madness bloom inside perfection, slowly and beautifully, until the two become impossible to separate. Nina becomes obsessed with Beth, the fallen ballerina. She steals lipstick from a dressing room. She visits her in the hospital after Beth is hit by a car in what may have been a suicide attempt. The visit is deeply disturbing, because Nina is not only sympathizing, she is studying the aftermath of artistic ruin. Beth is the ghost of Nina's future, a body consumed by performance, a woman with no self left once the stage stops needing her. During one rehearsal, Thomas kisses Nina unexpectedly to provoke a reaction. When she resists, he tells her she is holding too much in. He does not want careful movement anymore. He wants the part of her that has been buried under years of restraint. The demand is terrifying, because Nina has spent her whole life trying not to become excessive, sexual, angry, impulsive, or impure. Now, the role demands all of that. Lily continues to move around her like a living temptation. She is not necessarily malicious, at least not in any simple sense, but, from Nina's point of view, Lily becomes the embodiment of instability, sensuality, rebellion, and threat. At a company event, Nina and Lily go out together, drink, take drugs, and flirt with chaos. For Nina, the night feels like trespassing into someone else's life. She is exhilarated and horrified at the same time. That tension is central to the film. Nina does not want freedom in a clean, healthy way. She wants it the way starving people want food they have taught themselves to fear. The night ends in an encounter that seems to shatter one of the final walls inside her. Whether everything that happens is real, imagined, or partly both becomes less important than what the experience unlocks psychologically. By the next day, Nina is late for rehearsal, and panic takes over. She becomes convinced Lily is using her absence to steal the role. Thomas is angry. The production is near. Every fear she carries suddenly feels justified. If she slips for even one night, someone freer, looser, and more natural will take her place. But Nina still has the role. The danger is no longer external. It is what the role is doing to her from the inside. Her hallucinations intensify. Feathers, blood, eyes changing in the mirror, skin tearing, legs bending wrong, faces becoming other faces. Black Swan uses body horror not just to shock, but to visualize the violence of transformation when a person has no stable self to contain it. Nina's identity is cracking under pressure. She is not simply learning to perform darkness. She is losing the distinction between performing and becoming. That is why the film hits so hard. The usual inspirational artist story says suffering leads to greatness. Black Swan asks a darker question. What if greatness only arrives once the self is damaged beyond repair? Opening night comes. The pressure is unbearable. Erica tries to stop Nina from going, partly out of concern and partly out of fear that full independence will take her somewhere she cannot control. Nina fights back harder than ever before. For one of the first times in the film, she acts with raw force. That moment matters. Not because it is healthy liberation, but because it shows how tightly rage has been sealed inside her for years. When she finally reaches the theater, she's already emotionally unstable, physically strained, and mentally close to collapse. And then the performance begins. At first, things go wrong. Nina is distracted. She stumbles. She feels Lily's presence everywhere. During the White Swan portions, her technique is still beautiful, but fear keeps entering the movement. The role is no longer contained within choreography. It is pulling directly from her unraveling mind. Backstage, tension explodes. Nina becomes convinced Lily is actively trying to replace her. The paranoia peaks in a confrontation that turns violent. In Nina's perception, this confrontation ends with her fatally injuring Lily. This is one of the film's most crucial moments, because it marks the point where Nina fully crosses out of ordinary reality and into a truth shaped by fear, desire, and fractured identity. Believing she has killed Lily, Nina drags herself back onto the stage, and suddenly something changes. In the Black Swan act, she is perfect. Not technically perfect in the sterile, anxious way she has always been. Perfect in a deeper, more frightening sense. She is fluid, sensual, predatory, alive. Her body moves with the abandon Thomas demanded all along. Her face transforms. Her confidence floods the stage like dark fire. The audience is mesmerized. Thomas is stunned. For one brief stretch, Nina achieves exactly what she wanted. But the triumph is inseparable from psychic collapse. As she dances, she seems to grow wings. Her eyes sharpen. Her body no longer feels like a human body trying to execute steps. It feels like a creature emerging. Whether those visions are supernatural, symbolic, or hallucinatory does not matter. Emotionally, they are real. Nina has become the Black Swan by letting herself break open. And that is the tragedy. Her greatest performance is not born from balance. It is born from disintegration. After the act, Lily appears alive and unharmed, congratulating her. In that instant, Nina realizes the earlier confrontation did not happen the way she thought it did. She looks down and sees the truth. The shot of glass did not stab Lily. It stabbed her. This revelation changes the whole final section of the film. Nina has not defeated a rival. She has been fighting herself, projecting the war outward because facing it inward would be impossible. Even wounded, she keeps going. That choice tells you everything about Nina. Most people would stop. Most people would seek help. Nina is beyond those instincts now. The performance matters more than her survival. Or perhaps the performance is the only form of selfhood she has left. She returns for the final act as the White Swan, now carrying a real wound hidden under costume and makeup. The tragedy of Swan Lake and the tragedy of Nina's own life fuse into one. As she dances the final moments, there is something almost unbearable in how beautiful it is. The role calls for surrender, death, transcendence, and release. Nina gives all of it because she no longer has anything left to protect. When she throws herself onto the mattress at the end of the ballet, the audience erupts. The company gathers around her. Thomas tells her she was perfect, and she answers with the line that defines the whole film. I was perfect. It is not spoken with pride alone. It is spoken with relief. That is what makes it devastating. Nina did not want fame in a normal sense. She did not want pleasure, wealth, or even admiration the way other people might. What she wanted was perfection, because perfection promised escape from doubt, impurity, inadequacy, and the endless feeling that she was never fully enough. For one impossible moment, she gets it, and that moment kills her. Black Swan is one of the most unsettling films about artistic obsession because it refuses to romanticize the process in a safe way. It gives you the beauty of dedication, yes, but it also shows the physical and psychological violence hidden inside the worship of perfection. Nina is not simply ambitious. She has been shaped from childhood to believe that love, identity, and worth all depend on flawlessness. Every scratch on her skin, every tremor in rehearsal, every bite of food, every emotional impulse becomes morally charged in her mind. That is why the role destroys her so thoroughly. It does not create her instability from nothing. It activates everything that was already waiting underneath. Her mother matters enormously in that process. Erica is not evil in a comic book way. She is sadder than that. She is a woman who poured her unfinished ambitions into her daughter and called it care. She protects Nina while also freezing her in emotional childhood. She loves her while also feeding the exact fragility that later makes Nina vulnerable to collapse. Thomas matters too, but differently. He sees Nina's limits more clearly than almost anyone. He understands that she can already do purity. What she cannot do is freedom. His method of forcing that freedom out of her is manipulative, invasive, and abusive. But the film makes it hard because he is not wrong about the psychological block itself. Lily, meanwhile, is the perfect mirror for Nina's crisis. Whether Lily is truly seductive, competitive, and dangerous, or whether Nina exaggerates those qualities almost does not matter. Lily represents the life force Nina cannot comfortably inhabit. Instinct, appetite, looseness, sexuality, imperfection. The war between Nina and Lily is really the war between Nina and the parts of herself she has spent years denying. That is why the hallucinations are so effective. They are never random. Feathers, skin, doubles, distortions, black eyes, transformed limbs, everything expresses the terror of becoming something, both more powerful and less controllable than the self she has carefully maintained. Black Swan also understands something brutal about audiences. We admire the final performance. We admire the greatness. We call it dedication, transformation, genius. But we are often willing to enjoy the result without asking what it cost. The applause at the end of the film is sincere, and that sincerity makes it darker, not lighter. Because the audience gets beauty. Nina pays for it with her whole self. That is the final cruelty of the story. Perfection arrives exactly when it is no longer survivable. And maybe that is why the film lingers for so long after it ends. It is not just about ballet. It is about the destructive fantasy that if you suffer enough, discipline yourself enough, deny enough, control enough, and sacrifice enough, then one perfect moment will finally make all of it meaningful. But Black Swan suggests something more tragic. That sometimes the pursuit of perfection is not a path to transcendence. Sometimes it is a path to disappearance. Nina becomes unforgettable on stage because she stops protecting the person underneath the performance. She lets the role consume the self. For one brief moment, the art becomes complete, but the human being inside it cannot survive the completion. That is why the ending hurts instead of inspiring. It gives us triumph and annihilation at the same time. The dream comes true, and it destroys the dreamer. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Cinema Trigger, leave a like, and comment the next movie you want covered. Because the most disturbing transformations are not always the violent ones. Sometimes they happen under stage lights, inside applause, while a person smiles for the first time in their life and disappears into the perfection they were never meant to survive.